3 fights deep now here at Rumble in the Cage 50. I'm Marty Basita, joined by Jeremy Valentine, cage side. This next matchup coming up to the ring first, Flash at 165 pounds, Malcolm Tisdale from Eckville, Alberta, and the Crank Gym.
Well, Malcolm Tisdale, again, it's tough to talk about these fighters because they're making their amateur debuts and they're able to come in and they talk about what their strengths and weaknesses are, but they really notice that first 30 seconds, first 45 seconds in the cage, whether those strengths actually are strengths and whether those things they need to work on are actually things they need to work on as we see them getting greased up here. So, and we've had 2 great fights so far, and again 17 on the card tonight, and including our main event, which is Brant Dewsbury taking on Tyler O'Brien.
So another 19-year-old fighter, and kind of like Lorenzo Celis before him, a lot of these kids growing up now, not learning just martial arts, but mixed martial arts, and so when they get into the cage for the first time, a lot of them have been doing this for 10, 12, 15 years even.
And in the red corner, Hamza, Azizi.
His opponent, we'll see our first local fighter of the evening, Hamza Azizi, fighting out of the Canadian Martial Arts Center, coming out with Lee Meehan.
When Hamza Azizi, we saw him a few events back and just ended up on the wrong side of a great fighter that he was against, and really committed himself back into the gym and says, look, if I'm going to make a career out of this, I really got to get serious with it, and that's what gets demanded out of all of Lee Meehan's fighters at the Canadian Martial Arts Center. You mentioned that these young guys growing up with mixed martial arts, 10 years ago that wasn't the case, where you'd have a wrestler who transitions to MMA, or a Muay Thai, or a Jiu-Jitsu that transitions to MMA. These guys are growing up as MMA fighters.
As we look at the tail of the tape, Malcolm Tisdale making his amateur debut. He comes in at 166 pounds. Hamza Azizi, 0-1 record, as Jeremy just mentioned, but weighing in at 164 pounds, fighting out of Lethbridge, Alberta for the Canadian Martial Arts Center. We'll send things back to Keith Crawford to give us the official introductions.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, in the next fight of the evening, it is brought to you by A1 Truck and Car Wash. This fight is an amateur contest fought over 3 3-minute rounds in the 170-pound weight division. And now first, introducing in the blue corner, fighting out of Creighton Gym in Eckville, Alberta. He's making his cage debut. Ladies and gentlemen, Malcolm Tisdale. And in the red corner, fighting out of CMC in Lethbridge, Alberta. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Hamza Azizi. And the man in charge of the action when the fight starts is Mr. Mark Aparicio.
So Hamza Azizi, wearing the black trunks with gray trim, fighting out of Lethbridge, Alberta, up against Malcolm Tisdale, the black trunks with orange trim, fighting out of Eckville, Alberta, and the Crank Gym, originally from Chilliwack, British Columbia. Mark Aparicio, once again, our official in the ring. We keep on keeping on. Fight number 3 here at 165 pounds at Rumble in the Cage 50.
More clinical striking than we saw in the last fight, where it was a bit more wild. Some good strikes being thrown here by Malcolm Tisdale.
Tisdale comes out like a bull in a china shop, landing some blows. He's got the reach advantage against his opponent. Now Azizi trying to counter with some leg kicks.
When Hamza Azizi in his first fight was dominant and then get caught with a big overhand right that dropped him. And he was winning that fight, and like I said, ended up on the tough end of that fight. But able to avoid these big shots and try and answer with one of his own. And again, that's what you need to do: avoid the first initial rush of somebody making their first fight.
And both men throwing some blows with evil intentions. Azizi seems to have found his bearings, though, avoiding the strikes a little bit better but Tisdale with a nice leg kick, outside leg kick. Azizi answering with the inside.
You can always tell when they're good when that knee gets turned back into the inside, and it's one of those things that you've got to check those kicks, or they'll end up slowing you down in later rounds.
Azizi trying to land this big big looping right. And often you'll see that connect right behind the ear, and that'll drop an opponent and end a fight rather quickly. Straight rights and lefts from Tisdale, though. He's taking a more direct approach to his fists.
Definitely throwing straight ahead.
Azizi with the combination now. Minute 30 gone here in the first round. This is a striking battle here between Azizi and Tisdale. Neither man even attempting a lockup or a takedown.
Well, and throwing that big overhand right, and it's connected a couple times, but Tisdale keeps moving forward and doesn't seem to be affected by that big right hand of Azizi.
Very nice striking here from both competitors. Azizi trying to back up to avoid those blows, but now he's up against the cage.
And those leg kicks are nasty. A lot of times when you hear the big snap that comes from a leg kick, that's a leg kick that didn't land as properly because you get that big snap of a muscle on a muscle. When you hear nothing, that is when you've got that shin hitting right on the knee, and that's where you want those leg kicks to land.
So Azizi's going to have to try to work around this reach advantage, especially the straight shots that Tisdale's trying to deliver. He's going to have to circle and try to attack the angles as Tisdale's coming straight ahead at him.
Tisdale's very effectively using that jab. Every time Azizi looks to be stepping forward, Tisdale's throwing a jab and a shot that hit low. And they're going to keep going.
Mark Aparicio is not going to have any of it. Says fight on, 10 seconds to go here in the first round.
Well, I didn't think that it hit low, but the way Azizi reacted, perhaps it did. But a good first round for Tisdale in that regard.
Yeah, Tisdale using the reach advantage he has very effectively. Straight shots, whether it was the jab or even straight rights. Azizi trying to connect with looping right hands. He did connect with a few of them, but Tisdale seemed to be able to take him in stride. And then as we look for the replay here, Tisdale also using some very effective leg kicks.
Yeah, the leg kicks that were landing, every time that they landed, they buckled the knee of Hamza Azizi. And those are the ones, again, you'll see them you won't necessarily see the damage in round 1. You will see the damage in round 3 when you don't have that base to throw that power. And with Hamza Azizi trying to land that big shot, you got to have some legs. You got to have a base underneath you, or else nothing's going to happen. There's going to be no damage.
What kind of adjustments can Hamza Azizi make going here into the second round?
Well, you've got Lee Miem in the corner who's going to be telling him, look, those looping shots are not going to work, and he's starting to time them with the jab. You've got to throw him with part of a combination. Jab, jab, then the looper, or set him up so that he steps off, and perhaps maybe even a takedown attempt to take away that reach.
So Lethbridge's Hamza Azizi in the black trunks with gray trim up against Malcolm Tisdale from Eckville. He's in the black trunks with orange trim. And they exchange some kicks here. That catches Azizi's down to the mat up quickly, not before he eats a couple of lefts.
Tisdale teeing off on Hamza Azizi, who was able to stay in and avoids the bigger of the shots.
Almost seemed a bit too frantic, and now he catches him with an uppercut. Azizi in all sorts of trouble here, trying to defend himself. Tisdale.
Martin has seen enough at that point.
Unfortunately for Azizi, got put down on the mat, and Tisdale gave him no space to try and recover. Malcolm Tisdale with the finish here in the second round, getting the TKO.
Excellent killer instinct shown by Malcolm Tisdale. He saw a weakness. As soon as Azizi went down, he knew that if he continued to pepper Azizi's head and Azizi was not going to respond, Mark Aparicio, not an official that's going to risk these amateurs getting hurt. As we look at a replay here of some of the action, this is going to be that kick that went through that front leg, and this is when the killer instinct came in. Big shots being landed on top of Malcolm Tisdale.
And as we see the clinical striking that he had pretty much throughout this fight, Malcolm Tisdale comes away the winner. And a big rangy kid, only 19 years old.
Lots of time to put extra muscle on that frame. I wouldn't be surprised if eventually he does move up in weight classes. Again, his frame says that he could be a much bigger fighter, perhaps maybe living around 185 based on that frame. If he stays lean like that and can stay at 170, that's a good weight. But again, once he starts to, I guess, get his man strength and come through, there's no other way to describe it. Perhaps he'll bulk up that way.
All right, back to Keith Crawford to give us the official announcement.
gentlemen, referee Mark Aparicio steps in at 31 seconds of the second round. Your winner by TKO in the blue corner, Malcolm Tisdale.